If you could direct all of that energy, time, focus, and bandwidth on the customers that are saying yes to you, that you love to work with, that are grateful, that are willing to pay your prices, wouldn't you want to do that?
Welcome to the Sales Made Simple podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping overwhelmed outdoor living professionals, landscapers, and hardscapers just like you increase your closing rate to over 75% without doubling your workload so you can build a seven-figure business that doesn't need you. I'm your host, Joshua Gillow. Let's dig in.
One of the biggest game changers that I've found in sales is what I like to call core number 2 in the core 10 sales playbook. It is stop losing, start qualifying. Let me ask you something. Have you ever spent hours crafting a beautiful design, pouring your heart into a quote, only to hear crickets? No response, no feedback, nothing but silence. If that happens and it sounds familiar to you, I've got news for you. You didn't lose the sale at the quote. You lost it way earlier because you were pitching to the wrong person. Let that sink in. How many times have you done that over and over? And I'm not here trying to beat you up because I'll tell you right now, that was my story for most of my career. If somebody called me, I was going out. I said, if there's 8 billion people on this planet and they called me, what would they say if I didn't go out and at least talk to them? And if I could get this award-winning personality in front of them, I could probably close the project. But here's what I didn't know in those days. I didn't realize that so much of that decision was already made before I ever got there. And if the client might want something for, something you offer, maybe it's a new patio, a new deck, a new structure, a new whatever it might be, swimming pool, but they don't have the funds or they're early in their process of buying and more of the awareness stage. They're aware they have a problem, but they're not really ready to do anything about it. But yet you go out and pitch them like they're ready to go. That's a major disconnect. You think, okay, they called me, they're ready. And they're thinking, oh, I'm just looking for ideas. And if those two aren't aligned, you're going to run into a lot of friction. So most outdoor living pros aren't struggling because they're too expensive, and not because they're not talented enough. They're struggling because they're chasing bad fit leads or leads that are in different parts of their buying decision. And when you do that, here's what you get. You get a lot of ghosted calls or clients trying to lowball your numbers, dead end revisions, and burnout that steals your weekends, your confidence, and all that time you wish you had to spend working around the house, playing with the kids, chasing your dog, or going hunting, or whatever you might want to do. All of that is eroded and taken out of your life because you feel this need to go out and just meet with them, especially if you're not busy. If you don't have a lot of work coming up, your schedule's not full, every phone call looks like another opportunity. So it's let's go out and spend time with these people. At least you don't have to feel guilty that you didn't go out and meet with them, right? So let's just go out anyway, no matter what. Even if you know deep down there's no way this customer is going to actually hire you, but you're thinking, man, if I could just get out there to look like I'm doing something, I'll feel better that I'm doing something. When in the end of the day, you'll sit down and look at that and say, man, there's no reason why I should even went out to that customer. They were looking for stuff I didn't even offer. And I knew they didn't have the budget we don't normally work in that part of the neighborhood. And wow, anyway, I thought maybe this was going to be the one. Well, the solution is to start qualifying. Before you drive, before you decide to quote a project, you need to qualify. And here's the mindset shift. Sales isn't about convincing people to buy. It's about discovering who's already most likely to. Let me repeat that. Great closers don't try harder. They filter better. How do we pre-qualify like a pro? Simple. Follow the 5 pillars of the bulletproof qualification. And this is all included in my book. Number 1, intent. Ask, what made you reach out now? If there's no real reason, no pain, no urgency, they're just browsing. Maybe they just want something a little bit better than they had before. I've seen so many backyards that clients have reached out to us for help with, that when you look on Google Maps, and yes, we do that ahead of time. We look on Google Maps and take a look at the last snapshot that Google has of the either street view or from the sky, and we take a look, and if there's nothing back there or it looks really old or overgrown, we're like, okay, cool. But when it looks brand new and it just isn't, maybe it's like a 95% backyard and you're just looking for that last 5%. Question is, what are they really looking for? Are they willing to add the extra money to make this that much better? Or are they just looking for some ideas to enhance it? And they're just basically bringing a bunch of people in to give them ideas and then go do it themselves or go find a way to do it cheaper. This is something we need to find out way ahead of time by pre-qualifying early, preferably on the phone before we ever go out. So number 2 is authority. Ask, is there anyone else involved in making this decision? No more pitching to spectators. You want the decision makers in the room, all of them, or you reschedule. Very, very simple. It's so important, especially when it comes to high ticket sales, to have all of your decision makers together to make the big decisions. If you've got one customer, say it's a family, and you've got the wife that is making all the decisions for the project, and you're out there thinking like, hey, no big deal. She's the one that's most available. She's the one that agrees with me the most. She's easiest to get along with. Let's just have all the meetings with her. And you have this other person, let's just call it her husband, that's sitting in the background that's too busy. His schedule never aligns, and he's always quiet or standoffish. You decide, I'm going to spend all my time talking to the wife. That may or may not turn into something positive for you. Most likely it won't. We found over the years that it's very important to have both decision makers in the room, and specifically in the early part of the process where all the big decisions are happening, whether they're going to do a design, whether they're going to move forward the project, what are the main things that they're trying to achieve, what are their outcomes that they both want, not just what she wants, but what does he want too. We have this dynamic we talk about in the book. It's called the bird dog and the banker. And the bird dog is the one that's easily excitable. They're the ones that fill out your contact forms, or the ones that are waiting at the door when you get there. And they're just excited about the project. The budget doesn't really matter. They've got a whole laundry list of features they want in the backyard. And they're the ones that are easiest to connect to. And then you have the banker, which is normally the more logical one, the one that's not quite as emotionally driven, that wants to have a nice space, but it has to make sense financially. It has to make sense logistically. It has to make sense a lot of ways. So they're the ones that we like to call it the banker tends to be the dream killer, right? They're like, no, honey, we're not spending that much money back there. It doesn't make any sense. We're going to move in 5 years or 10 years, or we're never going to use it, or this house isn't worth it. Now, imagine if you had both of them in the same room having a conversation about where you're going to go next with the project, what features or outcomes we're focusing on. Clients will bring you features, but ultimately, that they were really looking for outcomes. And it's our job as professionals to continue to offer that value through the outcome focus. And we'll talk more about that in a future episode. But how to go from features to outcomes, because outcomes are emotional drivers. Features are often logical drivers. So question number 3 is timeline. Is this a right now project, or is this something you're thinking about in the next year? If it's the next year, let's start thinking about what that looks like. Perhaps they're still in problem awareness stage of their sales and buying journey. Perhaps they're just thinking like, what is possible? What could I do with this space? Let's get some guys out and let's talk to them about what's possible, but they're not ready to make a move yet. We've got to be careful that we don't make the mistake of trying to go in for the kill when they're still way, way off on their decision-making process. They're simply trying to figure out what's possible. So timeline is very important when it comes to qualifying, because you know what? Are you going to want to spend a ton of your time right now with somebody who's thinking about a next year project, or would you rather earmark that for maybe a little later in the year when you're not quite as busy, and work on the customers that want it now? To have that information would be so powerful. This is all part of the qualifying process. So number 4, alignment. This is how our process works. Does that sound like something that would work for you? If they push back here, they're going to push back on price too. We've learned many, many times the right customers want a process. They want certainty. They want to know what's coming next. They don't want to be guessing. They don't want to be thinking like, all right, well, this meeting was great. Not sure what's happening next. He said he's going to get back to me. She said she was going to prepare something for me. I'm not sure when, right? So to make sure that this is the kind of process in which they want to be in. So customers, we've found that customers that really truly value you as a company are going to be really thinking about what value do you provide to them that is something that builds more certainty and trust into the relationship, i.e. a system. Perhaps you even give it a fancy name. And that fancy name is your process. Maybe it's a 3 or 4 or 5-step process that you take every customer through to guarantee success and great results. Having a process like that makes it huge. But we need to make sure the client wants that, is interested in having a process. Some just want a quick number or a quick solution and don't really care so much about that. And that's really the ones you got to watch for. They're the price-focused ones. The ones that want the best value are the ones that want to know what's coming next. And in that, a system is a great way. A procedure, a process is a great way to show them the next step on their journey. Think about it like if you're going out for a hike and you bring up your All Trails app and it shows you where to park and it shows you different parts of the trail where it veers off, where there's a branch in the trail where you got to go left instead of right. And then you get to the top of the mountain. That's great. You smile, you take the picture, and then it can bring you right back down to it's a path, a proven path that gets you from where you started to where you want to go. And when you have one of those for your company and you bring it to your customers throughout your sales process and you explain what that looks like, customers that find value in that, i.e., the ones who are willing to spend more money, are the ones that are looking for that type of experience. They want to make sure that you have your ducks in an order and that you know what you're doing. You don't want to have they don't want to hire somebody who's going to come in and be like, yeah, we'll figure it out as we go. That's not going to make those customers very confident and build a lot of trust. So do they align with what your system is and your process to get them success? And then number 5 is budget. What kind of investment range are you thinking for a project like this? If they don't want to talk about money, they probably don't even want to move forward at that point, or nor do you want to move forward with them. Because when it comes to numbers, you as well as I know, when it comes to design, we can design anything. Our computers will design and spend every dollar you'll ever make in the backyard for sure, no problem. But we have to have some context about what they're looking for. We have to have some idea of where they're thinking they want to land this plane. And it can be as simple as a range at this point in time. It doesn't have to be an exact number. I actually prefer seeing ranges because we need to know what a low and a high is. So we have a space to work in as designers. We can make sure we can land this plane right where they want it to be. And we have to be very upfront with them if they don't have a budget that is strong enough or big enough for what they're talking about. We need to have that conversation now, not after the design is done and after they paid you the design deposit and they come back to you, or that you come back to them with a design and it looks beautiful, but it's 2 or 3 times what they said they wanted to invest. That conversation has to be had early so we can set expectations. And that's a whole nother one of the core. That's core number 10 in the book, about setting expectations, because that's where you will make or lose money all on expectations. So this isn't meant to be harsh. It's meant to be professional. That's our target here, guys. It's meant to be professional because every minute you spend with the wrong lead is a minute you're not serving the ones who are ready to say yes. Think about it. If you had all the time that you spend with customers in a week, if you could direct all of that energy, time, focused, and bandwidth on the customers that are saying yes to you, that you love to work with, that are grateful, that are willing to pay your prices, wouldn't you want to do that? Or would you rather just take more than half of your time in a week and give it to people who really don't either have a way of saying yes or aren't even thinking about saying yes to you? They're just looking for ideas. So here's the challenge I'm giving you for this week. Raise your standards. Don't chase every inquiry that comes in like it's your last meal. Set a frame, ask the questions, filter the dreamers from the doers. Because guess what? The clients you actually want, the ones who respect your time, your process, your value, and they want to be led. They want to trust somebody with their project. They want to take their hands off it and just give it to you to manage and take care of it all so you can bring it to life. So when you start qualifying with confidence, you'll start selling more. You'll start selling better projects. You'll start selling freedom to your customers and you'll start seeing freedom in your life. That's the amazing part about this. This isn't just one way. So that's it for today's episode. If you're ready to stop losing and start qualifying, head over to the show notes and I have a link there for the book if you want to be the first one to get your hands on it. It's coming out here early 2026. And until then, guys, go out there, make sure that you're qualifying your customers, make sure you're getting time to build that relationship with customers so they don't feel like you're just coming out to collect a check, move on to the next project. Because that, my friends, is the fastest way to the bottom.